The plains stretched wide and quiet where Tom lived alone with his horse and the wind. He had built his small cabin years ago after choosing distance over noise and routine over memories. Each morning he rose before the sun and checked the fences that marked the land he cared for. The work kept his hands busy and his thoughts slow, which suited him well. Tom was not angry at the world, but he no longer expected kindness from it. People in nearby towns rarely spoke his name, and he preferred it that way. He traded supplies once a month and returned before anyone asked questions. His life followed the rhythm of hooves, soil, and sky. At night he cooked simple meals and listened to the fire crackle. Loneliness sat with him like an old shadow, familiar but quiet. One afternoon the air felt different as clouds drifted low and the wind carried strange sounds. Tom rode farther than usual, checking a fence damaged by last week's storm. As he followed the wooden posts, he heard a faint sound that did not belong to the land. It was soft and broken, like a voice afraid to rise. Tom slowed his horse and listened again. The sound came once more, thin and tired. He followed it toward the far edge of the property where the fence met dry grass. There he saw a girl standing with her back against the post. Her hands were bound, and her head hung low, as if she had been there a long time. Dust clung to her clothes, and fear rested in her eyes. Tom dismounted slowly so she would not panic. He could see she was young and exhausted and trying not to cry. For a moment neither of them spoke. The plains held their breath around them. Tom stepped closer and cut the rope with steady hands. The girl nearly fell, and Tom caught her before she hit the ground. She flinched at first but did not pull away. He wrapped his jacket around her shoulders to shield her from the cold wind. Her voice trembled as she thanked him quietly. Tom nodded and helped her sit on a nearby rock. She said her name was Lily. Her words came slowly, as if she feared saying too much. She said her father had left her there because he said she was useless. She said she tried to be strong, but her strength had run out. Tom listened without asking questions. He offered her water and waited until her hands stopped shaking. The land seemed harsher now as he looked at her bruised hope. Tom felt a weight in his chest he had not felt in years. It was not anger, but something closer to responsibility. He helped Lily onto his horse and began the long ride back. Lily held onto the saddle and watched the plains pass by. She looked as if she expected him to change his mind. Tom rode steadily, giving her silence instead of promises. The sun dipped low and painted the land in soft gold. The ride felt longer than usual. When they reached the cabin, Tom helped her down carefully. The small home looked warmer than it ever had before. He led her inside and set water to boil. Lily stood near the door, unsure where to place herself. Tom told her she was safe here. He stepped outside to give her space. The stars began to appear one by one. Tom leaned against the wall and listened to the night. For the first time the quiet felt different. It felt shared. Inside, Lily warmed her hands by the fire. She studied the cabin filled with simple tools and worn furniture. Nothing felt threatening and nothing felt demanding. She sat slowly and allowed herself to breathe. Her body ached but her fear softened. Tom returned with food and placed it gently on the table. They ate in silence, but it was not uncomfortable. Lily glanced at him, often, as if memorizing his presence. Tom noticed but pretended not to. Trust needed time. Later Lily spoke again. She said she had always worked harder than anyone else. She said no matter what she did it was never enough. Her voice did not carry anger, only sadness. Tom listened and nodded. He told her she could rest here as long as she needed. He did not call it rescue or charity. He simply said no one should be left alone like that. Lily lowered her head and cried quietly. Tom stood nearby, unsure what to do but unwilling to leave. The fire burned low as night deepened. Outside the plains stretched wide and silent once more. Inside the cabin 2 lives shifted direction without knowing it. Tom looked at the door and realized he was no longer guarding emptiness. He was guarding someone who mattered. Morning light entered the cabin softly as Tom woke before the fire faded. He listened for movement and heard slow, careful steps near the table. Lily stood there holding a cup of water, as if unsure she was allowed to exist. Tom greeted her calmly and told her she could rest more if she wished. She shook her head and said she wanted to help. Tom prepared a simple breakfast and placed a plate in front of her. Lily ate slowly, as if her body was learning safety again. The silence between them felt gentle and not heavy. Outside, the wind moved through the grass in long waves. The day promised calm. After breakfast, Tom showed Lily the wash basin and fresh clothes. He explained where things were without asking questions. Lily thanked him again, but her voice carried disbelief. She expected rules or payment for kindness. Tom offered none. The days that followed moved quietly. Lily learned the rhythm of the cabin and the land. She swept the floor and fed the horse and watched Tom repair tools. Each task gave her a sense of purpose she had missed. Tom noticed she worked hard without being told. They spoke little at first. Lily feared saying the wrong thing. Tom feared saying too much. But small conversations began to grow naturally. They talked about weather and horses and simple meals. One afternoon, Lily asked why Tom lived so far away from others. Tom paused before answering. He said the land made more sense than people sometimes. He said loss could make noise painful. Lily understood without asking for more. She shared more of her story in pieces. She spoke of long days and harsh words and never being enough. She spoke of learning to stay silent to avoid trouble. Her words were steady, but her hands trembled. Tom listened without judgment. As days passed, Lily began to laugh quietly. It surprised her when it happened. Tom noticed the sound and felt warmth settle in his chest. The cabin changed with her presence. It felt alive. Neighbors noticed too. Smoke rose from the chimney more often. A light burned later into the night. Tom did not explain, and no one pressed him. The land accepted the change easily. Lily learned to ride the horse with careful confidence. Tom walked beside her and offered guidance. She fell once and laughed instead of fearing punishment. That moment stayed with her. It was freedom. One evening, Lily sat by the fire staring into the flames. She asked Tom if people could choose their own families. Tom said family was built through care, not blood. Lily nodded, as if storing that truth safely. Her shoulders relaxed. The nights grew cooler, but the cabin stayed warm. They shared meals and quiet stories. Lily slept without waking in fear. Tom slept knowing someone depended on his steadiness. Both found comfort. But worry lingered like a distant storm. Lily feared being found. She feared being taken back. Tom sensed her unease without her saying it. He began checking the land more often. One morning, a rider appeared at the edge of the property. Lily froze at the sight. Her breath caught and her hands shook. Tom stepped forward instinctively. He told her to stay inside. The rider stopped near the fence, watching the cabin. Tom stood tall and still. The air tightened between them. The man said nothing before turning away. But the threat lingered. Lily watched from the window, fear rising again. Tom reassured her with calm words. He said no one would force her to leave. He said she had a choice now. Those words mattered. That night, Lily cried quietly by the fire. Tom sat nearby, offering presence, not pressure. She said she feared being weak. Tom said surviving was not weakness. Lily believed him. The plains outside stretched endless and open. Inside, the cabin trust continued to grow. Lily began to imagine a future. Tom began to imagine not being alone. Neither spoke it aloud. The second part of their journey unfolded quietly. No dramatic events marked it. Only small moments of healing and connection. Only steady days rebuilding what had been broken. And both knew something important was coming. The morning arrived with heavy air and low clouds that pressed against the plains. Tom sensed unease before Lily spoke a word. She moved slowly that day and watched the horizon often. Fear had returned quietly like a shadow at her side. Tom understood without being told. He rode the fence line early, checking every corner of the land. The plains felt wider and less friendly than before. Tracks near the road told him someone had passed through recently. Tom followed them with care and returned to the cabin alert. Lily noticed the change in his posture. By midday, a rider appeared again near the far fence. This time the man did not turn away. He rode closer with a hard stare and stiff posture. Lily saw him from the window and stepped back shaking. Her past stood in front of her again. Tom walked outside calmly and stood between the rider and the cabin. The man spoke harshly and demanded Lily return with him. His voice carried control but no care. The plains listened as the moment stretched. Tom remained steady. Tom said Lily would choose for herself. The man laughed and dismissed the idea. He said children belonged where they were placed. Lily heard every word and felt anger rise. She stepped forward despite fear. Lily stood beside Tom and lifted her head. Her voice trembled but did not fade. She said she would not return to pain. She said she had learned her worth. The man stared in disbelief. Tom did not move and did not raise his voice. He simply stood firm like the fence that should have protected her. The man saw resolve instead of fear. Control slipped from his grasp. He turned away angry and empty. Lily collapsed against the cabin wall shaking. Tom guided her inside and closed the door. The threat had passed but the wound reopened. She cried quietly, releasing years of silence. Tom stayed close. That night Lily could not sleep. Memories pressed against her thoughts. Tom sat by the fire keeping watch. He said nothing but stayed present. That steadiness mattered. The days that followed were difficult, but healing continued. Lily learned she could feel fear without obeying it. Tom showed her how to set boundaries without violence. Strength grew quietly between them. Trust deepened. Lily asked about Tom past one evening. He spoke of loss and regret and choosing solitude. He said pain once made him close himself off. Lily listened carefully. She saw herself in his words. She said they were both survivors in different ways. Tom nodded and accepted that truth. The cabin felt like a place of recovery now. Not hiding but rebuilding. The land reflected that change. Lily began helping plan for the future. She spoke of learning and growing and independence. Tom encouraged her gently. He wanted her strong, not dependent. That choice mattered to both of them. One afternoon Lily rode the horse alone across the plains. She felt free and capable. The land no longer frightened her. It felt open and full of promise. Tom watched from a distance, proud. Neighbors visited briefly, bringing supplies and quiet support. They saw Lily working confidently beside Tom. No one questioned her presence. Respect settled naturally. Community returned. Lily began writing plans for education in a nearby town. She wanted knowledge and choice. Tom helped without holding her back. Letting go was part of care. They both understood that. As weeks passed, Lily stood taller and spoke clearer. Fear loosened its grip. Tom smiled more often. Loneliness no longer ruled him. Change felt permanent. One evening Lily thanked Tom for believing in her. Tom said belief came easily once she believed in herself. Those words stayed with her. They marked a turning point. Both lives moved forward. The third part of their journey was not about danger alone. It was about facing the past without surrender. It was about choosing courage daily. It was about learning that safety could exist. And it prepared them for what came next. The seasons shifted slowly across the plains, bringing cooler mornings and brighter skies. Lily woke each day with purpose and calm growing stronger inside her. The cabin no longer felt like a shelter, but like a starting point. Tom noticed the change and respected it. He knew growth meant movement. Lily began preparing for the next step of her life with quiet determination. She studied books borrowed from neighbors and practiced writing each evening. Her confidence showed in how she spoke and how she stood. Fear no longer shaped her choices. Hope guided her instead. Tom supported her plans without trying to control them. He helped her learn about the nearby town and opportunities there. They spoke openly about the future without sadness. Both understood that care did not mean holding on tightly. It meant letting strength lead. The day came when Lily decided to leave for her studies. She packed a small bag with steady hands. The plains looked wide and welcoming rather than frightening. Tom stood nearby offering quiet reassurance. Pride filled his chest. They shared a final meal before her departure. It was simple and warm and